Your identity is not failing you, it's protecting you. And that is the problem. You see, your identity has one job, and that's to keep you consistent with who you believe you are. And if who you believe you are is someone that struggles to launch, someone who gets close and then pulls back, someone who can build but can't hold, your identity will reinforce that every time without exception. And it'll feel like self-sabotage when it's actually self-preservation. Think about the last time that you were at the edge of a real shift, a launch you've been prepping for, a conversation you know you needed to have, a level of income or visibility or responsibility that was finally within reach, the thing you told yourself you wanted, and then you didn't. You delayed. You overthought. You found a reason to wait. Something came up. The timing wasn't right. And you told yourself it was strategic. But somewhere underneath it, you knew it wasn't strategy. It was something else. Something that felt bigger than your decision making. And here's what makes this worse. You've done this before. You can point to specific moments where you were right there and then you weren't. Where the opportunity was real. The preparation was done. And something inside you pulled the emergency brake without your consent. Here's what's actually running underneath every single one of those moments. So draw a circle here, draw identity here. You see, your identity is not a set of beliefs about yourself. It's an operating system, and its primary objective, above growth, above ambition, above everything that you say that you want, is coherence. It will protect consistency at any cost, including the cost of the life that you're trying to build. The moment that you approach a new level, new income, more visibility, more responsibility, your identity reads it as a foreign signal, a deviation from the known pattern. And that deviation registers as danger, as a threat. So from here, it perceives a threat. And then from here, it activates a pattern. And the whole objective of this pattern here is to bring you back to baseline. So it wants to bring you back to your normal self, right? To whoever you are currently, because it's always trying to protect yourself. So from here, then it goes into pattern that keeps you safe. Okay, this is the protection mechanism here. Because what happens here is the pattern does its job, right? It pulls you back. It brings you back to baseline. It gives you reasons, excuses as to why you shouldn't do or take action on whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish or become, right? So it does the job here of keeping you safe and intact at your current baseline identity level. And so from here, it goes back to your identity. And so this whole entire loop here is the protection loop. And the most important takeaway here is that you've been fighting the pattern, not the identity that's running it. This is why the same strategies keep producing the same results. You're treating a protection system like a motivation problem, and protection systems are not moved by motivation. And this is something that I've seen consistently with the many entrepreneurs, founders, high achievers that I work with. They thought they had a consistency problem. They thought they needed better systems, more accountability, harder discipline, but none of it worked because the identity running the pattern didn't want them to hold the next level. That version of them was a threat, and their own operating system kept bringing them back to the version it knew how to protect. That's when they stopped asking, why can't I stay consistent? And started asking, who keeps getting protected every time I pull back? And through this, I found 5 specific patterns. So here's what we're covering today. So we're going to go over the 5 identity patterns. Now, these are not personality types. These are not strengths. These are not weaknesses. These are actual patterns that are structural and predictable, running underneath every decision that you've been trying to change. And they're invisible until you name them. And then we're going to go through the C to shift identity pattern system. This is the system that allows you to see, to bring to awareness what identity patterns you're currently running, and then from here, make the shift to actually updating these patterns so that you're no longer falling into this protection loop here where you're perceiving a threat and then your identity is bringing you back to your baseline. Okay, so I want to walk you through something that I call the archetype stack. This is what happens when a person is not running one stuck pattern. They're running multiple patterns at once, each one showing up in a different domain of their life. You see, this person can be smart. They can be self-aware, successful, even deeply committed to their own self-development. They may have built a business, created success, read the books, done the inner work, invested in therapy, coaching, self-reflection, and personal growth, and still they're stuck. And not stuck like they don't know what to do. Stuck like they can see the next version of themselves clearly and somehow cannot get there. And when you start mapping what's actually happening underneath the surface, you realize something important. They're not running one of the 5 patterns. They're running a stack. And here's that stack. So in their self-development work, this is the aware observer. In their creative vision, big picture, this is the visionary with no fire. In their daily execution, the busy avoider. In their product launch, or business venture that they have been trying to launch or get off the ground for a long time. This is the almost founder. And in every wealth conversation, you think about the conversation of raising your prices, actually charging what you're worth. This is the wealth hesitant operator. These are the 5 archetypes, the identity patterns. So the aware observer, based off of your self-development work, your visionary with no fire, where you have creative vision but you're not taking action. You have your busy avoider, which is your daily execution, where you know what you need to do but you don't do what you're supposed to do because you fill your day with space, with meaningless things, busy work that keep you from actually taking action and execution on things that are going to move the needle. And then the almost founder is in the product launch, on the business launch, on the product that you're releasing or the business that you're starting. You're almost doing it because you're scared or you have fear, or the identity, all the above, right? It's protecting itself and it's not allowing you to move into the actual founder itself. And then finally, the wealth hesitant operator. This is where you have conversations and discussions and beliefs within yourself and others that you are not supposed to be charging X amount, or that you don't believe that you're valuable enough to charge X amount, or that you can make 100,000 per month because of those limiting beliefs. You're hesitating because you don't believe that you're worth it. And ultimately, again, it all goes back to the identity, your current identity, protecting itself so that it can keep you at your current baseline. And so what I need you to understand before we go any further, you are not one pattern. You are a system of patterns, each one running in a different domain, each one protecting a version of your old self. And the reason you feel stuck is not because you haven't found the right strategy. It's because one part of you is trying to move forward, while 5 different protection patterns are trying to keep the old identity alive. And so let's look at the structural definition, because this is the lens that everything else runs through. So you have identity, goes into a pattern, and then from there goes into behavior. And then this gives you a result. So it's your identity goes into a specific pattern, and then it gives you a certain behavior, and then ultimately you get a final result. And it's important to understand here that the identity is essentially firing a pattern. Okay? That's where the arrow comes in. So the identity is firing off a pattern. Any one of these 5 here. The aware, the visionary, the busy, the almost, the wealth hesitant operator, right? So it's firing off a specific pattern, which then is giving you behavior and then ultimately a result. And most people, what they do is they try to fix the result, and some try to fix the behavior, and neither works because neither is the root system. You change your life by seeing the pattern behind the behavior and the identity that's running the pattern. And keep in mind that these are not personality types. These are not permanent labels. They are not diagnoses. They are adaptive states, protection mechanisms, your old identity's way of keeping itself familiar. And something super important here that I want you to keep in mind and to fully understand. You don't have these. You enter them. Okay, super important here when it comes to the patterns. You don't just naturally have these that are just inside of you. You enter them, and oftentimes, more often, is unconsciously, instinctually, unknowingly. And the moment that you can see which one you're in any given area of your life, you are already no longer fully inside of it. So let's go over each archetype, each pattern in depth. So let me go ahead and erase the board here, and we'll walk through each one in depth. Okay, so the 5 identity traps. Number 1, the aware observer. The aware observer understands everything very precisely and clearly. They can map out their patterns. They can explain all their different issues, their problems. They can diagnose exactly what happened, what caused them to not take a specific action, or what caused them to fail or to not get a desired result or outcome from their actions. And then they go right back to repeating all of those actions. So they essentially have no direction. Like they know exactly what to do, and they just can't get themselves to do it, to take action. And what happens here is that awareness, because they're so aware of what's actually happening, that it becomes a prison when there is no direction. Okay? So even though they know exactly what to do, they just can't get themselves to move in the direction that they know they need to go. Okay? The execution, the aligned action, all of that. Okay? And then number 2, the visionary with no fire. And the fire here, okay, what this is no action. Okay? So no action is equivalent to no fire, because there needs to be action that is taken, okay, once you know what your vision is, what you're trying to accomplish. And so these are individuals that can lay out a vision, have their vision board, their journal, their complete full picture and idea of the life that they want, the outcomes that they want. They can feel it, they can describe it, they know exactly what it looks like. And unfortunately, they don't move. And I think this is where a lot of the kind of manifestation space as a whole really focuses on, and where it keeps a lot of people stuck, is that it teaches you to want to have a vision board, have a journal, practice affirmations, write out your life, feel it, describe it, right? Have the clear vision of what exactly that you want, all of that. But the problem is, this is just the feminine aspect of manifestation, of getting your outcomes, okay? The vision of it all is the feminine, okay? This is the feeling, feminine, and then fire, this is the masculine. And so these guys, we have a whole entire circle here. We have the left, the feminine, the right, which is the fire, which is the masculine, and they only have one side. Okay? Like it's fully outlined and it's clear that they have the vision, but they're completely missing the fire, the masculine action. Okay? And this is where vision without action becomes a fantasy, where you wishing, hoping, and praying and just thinking about the law of attraction. You're just constantly focused on it, but then it's just still always in your mind. And it's never manifesting itself in the external world as it should. Think about it this way. So the vision is real. However, the identity that executes doesn't exist yet. And so the real shift for number 2 is taking the identity coded action, because you don't want to feel ready to actually move. You act from the version of yourself that already has this fire here, okay? And it has the vision together. So you act from the version of yourself. Let's go right here. So let's go V5. Let's just go V5, version 5 of yourself that has this fire and the vision, the masculine and the feminine, all intact and at a coherent balance. Number 3, the busy avoider. This is where you have motion, but no movement, no momentum. This is where you have people, individuals that are taking action, doing stuff, busy work, that are avoiding, okay, the avoider, avoiding what actually needs to get done. So here it's where, let's say that you have the vision and the fire, okay? And you come here now and you're taking on this particular pattern where you know that you need to be taking action, you have the vision, but you're avoiding what you need to do and you're doing other stuff. So you're taking action, right? You have the fire, but the fire's misplaced. The fire's taking action on like checking your email, maybe playing with GPT or AI, Claude, and maybe browsing the web, looking on Facebook, just doing things that make you feel like maybe you're productive and moving the needle, but you have no actual movement, no momentum towards your actual goals, right? Your outcomes. And so you're just pretending to be busy doing things that are not going to get you anywhere near or close to your desired reality, your desired outcomes. And the reason why they're doing this, why they're staying busy on stuff that doesn't move the needle, is because it's the identity that's trying to protect themselves. Because they're thinking that if I stay busy doing busy work, then I'll never have to face the thing that I'm avoiding. Very, very powerful to become aware and understand, acknowledge what is going on here. And the way that you can fix this is just like one particular, let's go right here, one particular action item that moves the needle, okay? The big thing here is if you're going through this, the first thing is acknowledging it, right? Becoming aware and then saying, okay, it's difficult, it's challenging to face what I need to do and what I know I need to do. However, if I'm able to at least take one small action, okay, that can move me towards the outcome that I want, the goal that I want to accomplish, achieve, right? You think about it. If you're going like this, and you're taking small little action steps, okay? Small little action items, okay? And you're moving and you're moving and you're moving along. Over time, This is going to be one huge thing here, right? Think about the stock market. Think about how anything compounds over time, right? You're looking for that. You're planting the seeds. You're getting all of this to move in the direction that you want to move, and you're building that momentum, right? With small little micro actions that are taken on a consistent daily basis, even though you know that it's scary, that it's fearful, that has some tension, that you don't necessarily want to avoid the full aspect or version of yourself, right? Yet, but if you take the small actions that build up over time, you build momentum, and then it becomes an easier shift for you to actually face everything that you're avoiding. Let's go to number 4, the almost founder. These are the folks that are preparing to prepare. For lack of a better term there, they're just preparing and they're never actually launching. So no launch. And I think for this happens a lot to individuals that have limiting beliefs, but then also have analytical minds. Like I know for myself and for a lot of different people that I've worked with, a lot of different people that I've coached, founders, creators, business owners, high achievers, if you're more on the analytical side and you like to have everything very precise before you make a move, that's where I see a lot of people struggling here. Because, for example, myself, I'm more of a big picture thinker and strategist where I can zoom out and I can see, okay, what is the ultimate objective? What is the ultimate outcome here that I want to accomplish, that I want to have in terms of an outcome, right? The desired reality. And I can look at all of the things that need to get done, the action steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I can look at, okay, I know that if I can at least do 7 of these or 8 of these, and I can finish those, and at least if I'm doing like 80 to 90%, I'm moving along. I'm moving with progress, right? I'm moving with momentum. However, for most people that I find that struggle here, as I mentioned, these folks tend to be the analyticals that want everything to be perfect, want to be 100% sure on everything. And this is the biggest risk here, because someone like myself that has my kind of personality type, I can move with like 70 to 80% certainty. And this is how you should be moving, 70 to 80%, because if you're at 100, you've waited too long, okay? Nothing's ever guaranteed. Nothing is ever going to be a 100% sure shot. I mean, maybe, but for the most part, it's not, right? If you're making a business decision, you're looking to spend money on advertising, you're looking to grow your business, whatever it may be, there's never going to be, for the most part, 100% sure bet, right? You take calculated risks. You do that intelligently, right? By looking at everything and doing your analysis, but not getting stuck in any type of number or thing over here or thing over there where the sun isn't lined up properly, the moon isn't lined up accordingly, right? Like it's raining and it's supposed to be sunny. All of these things that need to be perfect, get those out the window. 70 to 80% is the sweet spot to know and have enough knowledge and analysis to make your move. So ultimately, this is the paralysis by analysis. Okay? And you solve it by being or having at least 70 to 80% of the information. And remember, at the end of the day, all of these are just identity protection systems, right? They're patterns that are just sitting here looking to protect your current identity, okay? If it steps out of its current identity, it's going to see threats. It's going to see things that are just not the way that they're supposed to be. And so Then you have your nervous system out of whack. Okay? Because you're wanting to do something here on the busy avoider specifically. Okay? And the almost founder, where here you're doing a bunch of busy work. Here you're preparing to prepare, paralysis by analysis. Okay? And the nervous system comes into play because you're wanting to take action and to move from 70 to 80%, but your nervous system is saying, no, let's not move because we're not 100%. And if we move, it's going to feel scary. It's going to be scary. We don't know what's going to happen. And so your nervous system is just there to protect you. Okay. Now, whether you move correctly or not, the nervous system is still going to make you feel like you are misaligned. Okay. And this is the biggest thing, because you're going to feel two things when you're wanting to take action and it feels off. Okay. Your nervous system, you're going to feel intuition, where's your gut feeling. And then here, you're going to feel a sense of logic, of understanding that here's the pros and cons, here's the reasons why I should move, and all of this stuff. Your intuition is, hey, my gut feeling, I feel that this is the right move. Okay. But regardless of which one you use, whether logic or intuition, you're still going to feel that tension. Okay. And the way that you decide whether to move or not in terms of aligned or misaligned action is you move regardless of how you feel, if it's moving you in your desired location or direction that is going to get you your desired reality, right? So 5, the wealth hesitant operator. Now, with this particular pattern archetype, this is where you know exactly what you need to do in terms of, hey, I have this business opportunity. I have this business deal. It's going to require X, Y, and Z of my investment. And then from there, that means that I should get a 2 to 3 or even 4x return on my investment. And so they've gone through the analysis and they've actually figured out like, hey, I'm going to make money off this. However, it's going to take some of my own money first, right? You think about advertising, running ads on Meta, Google, and you first need to front load the cost on the platform to run the ads to show to people. And then from there, you get sales, you get book calls, and you bring in revenue, right? But first, it's your cost that you need to front load. And for this particular archetype, this pattern, this person is always finding a reason why they just don't or shouldn't move, right? Like a specific reason about, I need to make sure that my ads are much better. I need to finish my VSL. I need to finish my, creatives. I need to write better copy. So they're always coming up with reasons on why they shouldn't launch or invest into something that they know is a great possibility of a return of capital, a positive return, right? And they just keep bringing themselves to the acknowledgement of, maybe this isn't the right time. Maybe this isn't the right thing for me. And maybe I'm not cut out for this. So a lot of limiting beliefs there where they don't believe that they deserve it. And the way that you can disrupt this pattern is by being able to acknowledge that, in this investment, I could win or I could lose. But as long as I have done the research, the analysis, done the groundwork, like I have done enough of the groundwork, of the investigation, of the research to know that there's a high probability, 70 to 80% chance that I'm going to win. I'm going to make money. I'm going to become successful. And with that, being okay with taking action and investing money, right, that has a high probability of getting a return. And so being able to sit with that and be okay with it, acknowledge it, accept it, will allow you to be able to move forward with it. Now, here's the meta pattern that runs underneath all 5 of these. So you have your old identity, goes into protection, then it brings up a pattern, which then creates a limit. So it's your old identity always looking and trying to protect itself, and then limiting because of the pattern, because it's trying to protect, right? So this is a vicious loop that, if not understood, acknowledged, and accepted for what it is, you're going to stay stuck here in your old identity without even realizing it, and without realizing, why do I keep being stuck? And so when you can zoom out and you can understand that this is all just a protection system that your identity has, that is designed by your old self or your current self, that is, trying to keep you intact, right? And when you understand that this is all it is just a pattern system that is running by your identity and through your identity to try to protect itself. When you realize that, you're like, oh, wow, now I see the full picture. This is the level 5 thinking when we think about like the meta awareness. Okay. Actually, let's go like this. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. Level 5D, 5th dimension, 5-dimensional thinking. Okay. Where you have meta awareness and you can see the whole entire playing field. You can understand that it's just a pattern. It's just trying to protect itself. Okay. What is this pattern? Right? And then you start to understand how identity shifts happen, how they work, how it's all just a pattern recognition. And then you're able to take all that information and make the proper adjustments so that you put in new protection mechanisms for your new and higher best version of yourself. Okay, so now let's go through the C shift identity pattern system. So let me go ahead and erase the board here and we'll jump right in. Okay, so the C to shift identity pattern system. And these are both acronyms here. So this first one here, C, this is the diagnostic. Okay? This is the awareness, the understanding. This is where you see the pattern first before you shift it, before you change it. So let's go with S. Spot the pattern. This is where you want to name which pattern of those identity archetypes, right, is running right now. And remember, it can still be a combination of patterns that are running in your life in different aspects of your life, okay? But when it comes to accomplishing your goals, right? Like, what is the pattern that you're seeing right now? Is it the busy avoider, the wealth hesitant operator, the aware observer, right? Which one here is actually running right now? And then you want to explain the behavior. This is where you want to explain, acknowledge, and describe what is the pattern doing? What behavior is it generating? And get very specific with it. You don't want to say, I'm just procrastinating. You want to get very clear and specific and say, I'm rewriting a sales page that I have already written before, because if I actually get around to launching it, it will threaten my identity as someone who is preparing. So getting as specific as possible here and being honest and being real, like, what are you doing? Describe it. And even remove yourself from it. Like, take a third person perspective and just looking at it objectively. Hey, what is it? What's going on? What's happening here, right? No judgment. And then you want to expose the identity. What version of you is this pattern protecting? What does it fear losing? Because once you see who and what is protecting what, then the pattern loses its grip, right? Because awareness, the C here, okay? Once you step into a dark lit room and you turn on the light and you are able to expose and become aware of things that were not previously known to you, and it just wasn't in your field of awareness, right? So your dark lit room now gives you a whole new perspective because you're able to see things and expose things that were always there. You just didn't have the awareness, the light to shine to actually see it for what it is. But now you do. So now we're going into the shift. This is where we design what replaces the patterns. So let's draw a line here and let's go to shift. So S, stop the loop. And the way that you stop the loop here is you really become aware of what's going on. Like in the middle of the thought, as the thought is happening, and you sit there and you ponder on it and you acknowledge it, you accept it, but then you like question, like, okay, what's going on here? This is something where I've noticed this is a pattern. I was about to do X and Y, and then you pulled yourself back and you interrupted it. You're like, why am I thinking that way? What's going on here? Who's trying to protect what? What's my identity trying to protect here? Why am I thinking this way, right? So you want to stop it dead in its tracks when it's coming into your mind, right? Whenever the thought occurs. And the way that you want to think about this is that the stop here is not the actual change itself. It's the doorway, okay? Very, very powerful. The doorway for you to realize that before there wasn't a door, but now there is a door. It's here, okay? And let's just draw a little house, okay? Little house, windows, whatever, right? And then there's a house, and then there's the door here, and the doorway is right there. But before, you didn't even know that the house was there, or even the door was even there, right? Step number 2, you want to hold new identity. This is where you want to claim the new identity of the future version of yourself that's actually doing and taking the action. So for this, a lot of times how you hold this identity and you step into that is by taking small micro actions that build up over time. Small little micro actions, okay? And then over time, this comes into a full line, right? And you look back and you're thinking, man, I came a long way. Yes, but it all started with simple little small micro actions that built up and compounded over time. Because here, ultimately, identity first needs to change, okay? This is the root system here, identity. Then behavior follows. This is a problem with a lot of self-help and just motivation and productivity stuff nowadays. It's like, just do X and Y actions, behavior, and you're going to get a result. Yes, technically. However, the best way to build the iron solid way of getting exactly what you want all the time and not having to fight with being productive and procrastination and motivation, all this stuff, is by rebooting, redoing, reprogramming the root system, which is the identity first, okay? And these small micro actions, you're obviously taking them from future version, okay? If you're taking small actions, that are not leading you to your future version of yourself, or that the future version would be taken, then you're going about this the wrong way. If you're taking just simple actions like busy work, that is trying to protect your old identity or your current one, then it's going to be all for naught. But the key thing here is micro actions that your future version would be taking, okay? Step number 3, I, initiate new action. Now, this goes into the last step here, which is hold the identity, right? And where you're taking minor actions. Oftentimes, just even one small action, okay? One simple, small little action of like maybe calling a lead that you have been hesitant to, or maybe launching a product that you have been trying to get it 100% and you've just been kind of doing busy work and not actually launching the product or the service or whatever it may be because you feel that you're not ready. And so this is just really taking it in and understanding that a minor action will go a long way and will have a major impact. But remember, always through the future version lens, okay? Step 4, you want to follow through. This goes with doing what you say you're going to do. And this is so massively powerful here. Like, I mean, I want to take a moment to talk about this. So this is your will, and this is super important for you to keep doing things that you know are going to lead you to your desired reality. You need to make things happen. Follow through when you say you're going to do something. And so if you say like tomorrow at X time, I'm going to do X action and that's going to give me X result. If you don't do it at that exact time, and if you don't follow through, you start to lose the trust in yourself and the ability for you to actually take action and make things happen because you're not following through. It's all talk, right? It's all let's go over here. You have the masculine on the right and the feminine on the left, okay? And you have the feminine and you're saying, I'm going to do this grandiose thing. I'm going to become this person. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. But you don't follow through. You don't take action. You don't have the fire. Okay. So very important. Do what you say you're going to do no matter what and how you feel. Okay. And then the final step, T, train, repetition. This becomes the norm after repetition. Just like with anything, right? With anything that you do, when the very beginning, it's going to be a little bit difficult, a little bit challenging. Like riding a bike, you're going to get on, you're going to fall, you're going to trip, you're going to maybe scrape your knee. However, over time, you're going to get on your bike and you're going to just not even think about that you have to pedal and that you need to control it until then it becomes just natural. So repetition is the key here. And the key thing that I want you to acknowledge and understand here is that you don't break patterns. You outgrow them through design. So let's go ahead and recap this. So we want to first become aware and see the entire playing field. We want to see the diagnostic in terms of spot the pattern, explain the behavior, expose the identity, okay? And then we want to shift into the shift model, okay? Stop the loop, hold the new identity, initiate new action, follow through, do what you say you're going to do, and train with repetition, right? Just like with anything, in the very beginning, it's a little bit difficult, a little bit challenging. However, over time, it becomes the new norm. I want you to ask yourself some questions. Where are you observing, but not changing? Where are you visualizing, but not moving? Where are you busy, but not progressing? Where are you preparing, but not launching? Where are you hesitating? Find the pattern and you find the block. You're not stuck. You're just going through patterns. And patterns, unlike character, can be redesigned.